Richard Sherman last night during that football game. This is a dissertation on how to not fit your play calling to your personnel. The fact that we just saw a design run for Carson Wentz and not yet one for Justin Fields is asinine. And then someone named Sean Payton with a blue check decided to respond to Richard Sherman and said, "Preach into the choir, Rich." Woof.
Wow.
That's from Sean Payton. And I immediately thought of Trey Lance. Because, do you see Justin Fields play football? That's what I think Trey Lance would look like if they didn't let him move and run the ball. That's what he would look like. That's why Kyle Shanahan is looking at everybody in press conferences and acting arrogant and being like, you guys don't understand what you do with a mobile quarterback. When Justin Fields gets out there in the open field, he's magic.
Yeah.
He's fantastic out there. But they don't do it. They don't do it on purpose, not once.
I think Fields, though, is closer to Lamar Jackson, and Trey Lance is closer to Josh Allen in terms of running the football.
Okay.
When I see Justin Fields out there and it's a broken play and he gets outside the pocket, his quickness, his mobility, his juke ability is far greater than Trey Lance. To me, Trey Lance is better with the ball in his hands when it comes to inside the tackles, which is where he got hurt, designed runs. Justin Fields could do that sort of design run stuff, but I don't think that Eberflus is really looking to run his offense that way.
It's my favorite word in sports right now, Eberflus. It sounds like somebody is speaking a different language and telling you that something went wrong. And that's exactly what it is. They're speaking a completely different language with the Chicago Bears. And I think we in some ways, we get ourselves into a little bit of trouble with all these comps. Justin Fields is Lamar Jackson and Trey Lance is Josh Allen, because now people are going to be like, Trey Lance is not Josh Allen. And I know that's not what you're saying. You're talking about just in terms of style. I don't know. I could bring up differences with all of them. From Allen to, if I bring Jalen Hurts into the conversation, people will be like, yeah, but he got a big caboose. He's got big thighs. Yeah, I get it. The point is, I just think if you've got a quarterback who can do stuff in the open field, can run, can make people miss, you use that. The 49ers used it. We've been through the debate. I know, is it running or is it that particular kind of run play, what have you? That's what injured Trey Lance. That was what kept going through my head last night as I'm watching Justin Fields. I go, this is what happens when you have a quarterback who's got beautiful athleticism and you try to tell him to be Tom Brady.
Right.
Because that's what the Bears look like they're doing.
And I think that the 49ers are hoping that Trey Lance could be more like Tom Brady in that he could actually make plays from the pocket. The more you watch Justin Fields, I don't see any real progression or improvement on his ability to be Tom Brady-esque. Now, no one will ever be Tom Brady, and when you have a quarterback as mobile and as athletic as Justin Fields, you don't ever want him to just be in the pocket, but I don't see any of that confidence from Eberflus or from Justin Fields himself to be the kind of quarterback that he needs to be. You have to throw from the pocket some to win in the NFL.
I will say this, though. Every time I watch Justin Fields, there's two other thoughts that go through my head. One of them is, even though Trey Lance's career has gotten off to all of this rocky start, man, I'm really glad that the 49ers didn't pick Justin Fields.
Yeah.
I remember, because that was essentially the debate, even though we got sort of sidetracked on the Mac Jones thing because of all the reports. I have a hard time believing, because of the way that it played out, that the 49ers were behind the scenes going, is it Trey or is it Mac? Is it Trey or is it Mac? Because they're so different. I mean, you're really taking your offense in two totally different directions if that's your thought. But Trey Lance, Justin Fields, I'm sure at one point or another that was a discussion that happened. And even though Trey hasn't shown much yet, thank goodness they did not pick Justin Fields. And then the other thought that pops into my head when you watch the Bears play is, how on earth, monsoon or otherwise, how? I don't even need to finish the sentence. You know what I'm going to say.
Did they lose that game?
How? They're so bad. They are so flippy.
I mean,
you
wow,
watch the Bears play, I go, I don't know how many NFL players are even on this field right now. Roquan Smith, I see you. I mean, you're out there
David Montgomery, good running back.
Sure, and actually so's his backup. Khalil Herbert, who broke a long one, is a solid running back. I get it. There are players. It's about context and what's around you. But my gosh, like Dante Pettis is running around out there as one of their top 3 receivers. I don't need to tell 49er fans. Right. Dante Pettis is one of their top 3 options in the passing game.
And he might be their number 1 option.
I mean, he caught the touchdown.
Yeah, he makes plays. He had the big play against the Niners that won that game. But, you look at that offense, and it's been this bad for how long in Chicago? That's what continues to amaze me is the Bears have not figured out the quarterback position at all. And, you watch Justin Fields in college, and he was a great player in college. But you look at what he did at Ohio State, and it doesn't really translate to what will happen in the NFL. And that's where you have to give Kyle Shanahan at least the benefit of the doubt, because Trey Lance ran much more of a pro style at North Dakota State. And he was, throwing the ball in his 1 year from the pocket a lot more than Justin Fields was at the FCS. And so you figure those skills, forget the level he played at, but the skills that he showed should translate better to the NFL than Justin Fields.
I could see Justin Fields' career going a certain way, and the comp I'll give right now, because it's way too early to put this on a guy. Like I hope for everybody on an individual basis, even though I don't like the teams, I don't want them to do well. I don't like it when guys are college players we love watching, and then they get a whole lot of discussion, and they're famous already when they arrive at the draft, and then within a year we're like, bust. Believe me, when I was in the food lines at halftime of the Bears 49er game, you should have heard what Bears fans were saying about Justin Fields. I mean, they wanted to drive him to the airport. And so I don't ever root for that. But because he's a Bear, and because they clearly have no clue how to call a play, I could see a path where his career becomes what it seems in this moment Geno Smith's career has been, which is
journeyman.
You're a first-round bust. This didn't work out, but then somewhere along the line, some other team and some other coach is going to get their hands on you, and you're going to go, oh, well, that looks passable. That's talented. Like Justin Fields, a talented guy. Go look at the numbers this year. If you think this is kind of a wonky point, go look at the numbers this year for Geno Smith in Seattle. I know he's played some bad defenses. I know, and I know they didn't put up anything against the 49ers, but then again, nobody has. Like Geno Smith is one of the top-rated quarterbacks in the game this year. There's talent in there.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks need to be around the right play callers. Justin Fields is not. And I still believe that Trey Lance is. It's why I still have a lot of hope for his future.
And that's why the 49ers still have hope for his future.
Yeah.
And that's why the Jimmy Garoppolo story will not most likely involve next year. We said this last year, and here we are. Jimmy Garoppolo is still a part of the tableau. But Trey Lance is going to have a chance to flourish and shine under Kyle Shanahan. The other name that I was thinking about in these terms, Mark, was Teddy Bridgewater, a guy who, he's kind of bounced around. He's been looking for the right spot. Miami, it felt like would be it with Tua hurt, but now he's hurt as well. Miami's on to their third, maybe their fourth-string quarterback, and I defy you to try to remember the name of that. Is it Stinnett?
Was it Reed Sinnett? Was it Reed Sinnett is tracking toward being the backup quarterback for the Dolphins? We were joking before the show.
Yeah.
So first off, 2 things on the Dolphins situation, and then there's actually a development for the 49ers we want to tell you about 2 minutes away. So the Dolphins are clearly terrified of concussions, and with good reason. Teddy Bridgewater has essentially already been ruled out as the starter for this weekend's game for Miami. They take on Minnesota. We know that Tua has also been ruled out. But Teddy has not been ruled out of playing. He's simply been ruled out of starting. He is still in the concussion protocol, but Bridgewater may get cleared tomorrow, and the Dolphins immediately announced if Teddy's cleared, then he'll be the backup. Because we're still really terrified that you're going to be mad at us about concussions.
Exactly.
So even though he's totally cleared and ready to play, we're still not going to play him because we really are tired of you all getting mad at us.
Right.
That's essentially what they said.
So we'd rather go with Skylar Thompson.
And someone named Reed, who is now, he's the backup to Skylar Thompson for the moment.
Even if Teddy gets healthy, I mean, you may still see Reed Sinnett or Teddy Bridgewater might be the backup or whatnot. But to your point, I mean, Geno Smith, the numbers he's putting up with Seattle, in part, maybe in large part, is because they're always behind and they have to throw it. They don't have a great ground game, but as he's been throwing it, he's done very well this year.
Yeah, and I mean, remember, like they played ahead in that Detroit game and scored 48 points, and they just kept pouring it on. And that Saints game last week, if you watched it, also really, really fun. Geno Smith is he's been a thing, and he has been kind of thrown out by multiple teams to this point in his career, and now suddenly looks like a very passable NFL player. I could see it going that way for Justin Fields. The other Dolphins thing that I wanted to bring up, I joked, like, it's week 6 in the NFL. The Dolphins are my 2022 example as to why I never loved playing the preseason sports radio game win-loss. Because the Dolphins they're playing the Jets week 5. That's a win.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have Skylar Thompson and Reed Sinnett on your bingo card as what's happening by week 6? We have no clue. The story of an NFL season is always so wild. There's always so much stuff that jumps out at you. Players you've never heard of that become relevant, players who get hurt, and you're already on a third or a fourth string quarterback by week 6. So they're my this year example. I mean, who knows? Like, we're now sitting here. The Niners have won 2 in a row. We think they can compete for the Super Bowl. What's going to happen Sunday? Hopefully nothing.
Right.
That could change this entire story.
I had Miami at 3-2 at this point, just so you know, Mark.
And what are they? Are they 3-2?
3-2.
Okay.
I had them beating New England. They did. I had them losing to Baltimore. They won. I had them losing to Buffalo. They won. I had them beating Cincinnati. They lost. I had them beating the Jets. They lost. But I had them at 3-2.
You had them at 3-2. You nailed it.
But I'm 1-4 on their 3-2.
You nailed it.
And to the Niners' point, I mean, I had them beating Chicago. They didn't. I had them losing to Denver, but good. I thought differently about Denver.
And they kind of did?
I guess. And I also have them beating Atlanta, but the more I think about this game, and we'll get into it as the show goes on, you got me a little bit scared, Mark. You've got me running scared on this Atlanta game.
There is one thing that may start to swing what I've been calling my appropriate or healthy fear of this game in Atlanta. There's one thing that could start to swing that in the other, more normalized direction, and it is this piece of news that, ladies and gentlemen, practice has begun at Greenbrier today for the San Francisco 49ers.
Hello, friends.
And Nick Bosa is practicing.
Okay.
He is on the field practicing. Now, Kyle Madsen also popped his head in here and said something right after Nick Bosa. We got the news that Nick was practicing, and he goes, do you want him to play or not? Because I don't. So it's funny because I get where Kyle's coming from. I always want Nick to play. I want Nick to play, and I want him to be healthy at the end of the game. But does this feel like a roll of the dice if, with his groin injury, you go ahead and play Nick in a game that you think you can go win, even if you're compromised without Nick, and you're putting in jeopardy games that are coming up against the Chiefs, the Rams, potentially even the Chargers? And for reference, George Kittle, groin injury, practiced on Friday and then didn't play a few weeks ago, and then had a full week of practice the following week and did show up and play. So we'll see.
I do want him to play, knowing that he's not going to play every snap. And, maybe you pare back his reps, because normally he's about a 70 or 75% participant on the D-line. None of those guys plays 100% of the snaps. It's just the way they rotate their personnel. So maybe you bring Nick Bosa down to 40 or 50% of the snaps just to try to baby the groin. But if he is good to go, if he's good to make it through a full practice, go ahead and play him, because all these games count the same. And, if you save him for Kansas City, you're not making sure, you're not guaranteeing that he's going to be healthy through that game either.
And you're also not guaranteeing you're going to win that game just because he plays by any stretch. I mean, right now, home game, 49ers, Chiefs. Chiefs would be favored, right?
Yeah, I checked it yesterday.
Where is it right now?
1.5.
Chiefs favored?
Yes.
Yeah.
One and a hook.
And this could change, obviously, each week. It changes based on what we see. Like, the Chiefs are playing the Bills this weekend. If the Bills go out and win that thing by 3 touchdowns, which I don't think is going to happen, but if they were, obviously that line could move. But, yeah, the Niners will be a slight underdog in that game, even with Nick Bosa. Here would be my guess on how the Nick thing is going to play out. I think what you're going to see after today is a questionable tag on Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
And the reason they're practicing him today is because they would like the data on how that feels tomorrow. So, Nick, do some practice work today, then go to bed, then wake up tomorrow. Let's assess how you're doing. If there's nothing negative that happens from you practicing, we're probably going to give you the go-ahead to go ahead and play. If there's anything that tightens up or doesn't feel good, you're going to see the 49ers probably come out Sunday morning and say, oh, we're going to test it, well, whatever.
Right.
You'll get the midnight Adam Schefter tweet Saturday night saying Nick Bosa is not expected to play. So just because he's practicing today, I still think this thing is totally up in the air.
But I don't think either way that's going to be a deal breaker, at least for me, in terms of can you beat Atlanta. If you don't have Nick Bosa, you should still be able to beat Atlanta.
Should.
Well, yeah, of course. And you're favored by 5. So basically, the implied odds are to where you're probably, and I'd have to check the actual money line, but you're probably minus 185 on the money line, and Atlanta's probably plus 165, somewhere in there.
I can get that here pretty quickly.
You're almost a 2-1 favorite to win this game. And if you don't have Nick Bosa, if he's declared out of the game, I don't think the point spread moves at all.
The number is at 5.5, and the straight-up win odd is minus 235.
Oh, it's 235 for 5.5. Okay.
To win that game straight up.
So that's almost 5-2 odds.
Yeah. So although I will say at the 5.5, the Falcons are a little bit more, and this is getting into the weeds where people may not understand what I'm saying, but just put it this way. The 5.5 is more pushing toward going to 5 than it is going to 6.
Well, it was 5 yesterday.
Yeah, so it's at 5.5, but more money at the moment is coming in on the Falcons plus 5.5 than it is coming in on the 49ers minus 5.5 is maybe a better way to say it.
I'm really looking forward to this Sunday because it's a no red zone Sunday for the first time all year because you got Niners Falcons in the morning. Then you mentioned Buffalo, Kansas City. Mm-hmm. That's a game you watch every snap. And then Philadelphia, Dallas on the Sunday night spot. It's a no zone. It's a no zone Sunday.
You do your house how you do your house. I'm going to do my house how I do my house. The Red Zone channel always on.
I get that.
We keep it on even during the week.
Will it be
and we
a
just play the
Sunday?
music on Tuesday. Oh, absolutely. It's 2 screens. Yeah. I got the boys this weekend. They're never going to, listen, I've tried to teach the boys to be 49er fans, and they are. But they're not going to give up their fantasy team and their Red Zone channel. I was laughing my butt off listening to Bonte and Joe this morning. They had a caller, I forget his name, but they were going through their favorite memories of Falcons 49er games, both good and bad, through the past. And one of these callers brings up the 80-yard touchdown from Matt Ryan to Roddy White to break the 49ers' hearts a few years back. And he goes, man, that was a crazy one because I was sitting there and I'm watching Roddy White run down the sideline and the crowd is crushed. And my boys are all sitting there just, oh, my gosh, and there's booze and there's cussing and everybody is so mad. He goes, well, I didn't want to tell any of them. But I had Matt Ryan and Roddy White on my fantasy team. So I'm watching the Niners' hearts get broken, but I'm thinking, yo, dudes, that's like 30 points for me. and that's how my sons are too. So yes, it'll be a 2-screen Sunday. Red Zone will be on in the corner always.
Well, if you're going to get your heart broken by an opponent, you might as well have it be where you have the quarterback and the receiver in your fantasy.
I usually just bench my dudes when they're playing the 49ers.
Really?
That's what I usually do, unless I don't have another choice, because I hate that.
Even if they're like a top line, like Patrick Mahomes. If you have Mahomes, are you benching Mahomes?
I guess I would do, probably not. There are exceptions.
Okay.
There are exceptions.
Okay.
But, like last week.
If it's a borderline RB2 or a wide receiver 3.
Last week, DJ Moore is my WR2. I'm like, hit the bricks. Get on the bench. I'm not starting you against the 49ers.
It's a lot easier, too.
I'm like, Charvarius Ward's going to crush you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't want to have anything to do with that.
That's actually a smart play when you're going against this Niner D. I actually have the Niners D as my D.
Nice job.
In fantasy. It's pretty fun to watch that unit. It's a pretty impressive unit, watching them go out and do their thing.